My name is Carl Langston, and my journey is one that weaves through the intricate wires of technology and the even more complex threads of human relationships. As an electronics specialist, I've always been fascinated by the precision and predictability of circuits and systems, a stark contrast to the unpredictable nature of life. My career began modestly, working for various companies where I honed my skills and developed a reputation for solving the most challenging electronic problems. This expertise eventually led me to establish my own business, a decision driven by a desire for independence and the belief that I could create something exceptional on my own terms. My company thrived, and with its success, I achieved a comfortable financial situation, owning not just a business, but also a sense of stability and pride in what I had built. It was during this prosperous period that I met Linda. Our paths crossed at a recruitment seminar, one of those networking events that often felt more like a formality than an opportunity. But Linda was different. She had a presence that drew me in immediately, a blend of confidence and warmth that made our initial interaction both engaging and memorable. We talked about our careers, our aspirations, and it quickly became evident that we had a lot in common. Linda's background was equally impressive. She was driven, intelligent, and shared a similar passion for her work. These early interactions laid a strong foundation for what would become a deep and meaningful relationship. As we got to know each other better, my admiration for her grew. She was ambitious, constantly seeking to improve and excel in her field, which resonated with my own professional ethos. Our conversations often drifted from work to more personal topics, and it wasn't long before our professional respect blossomed into something more profound. We started dating, and those early days were filled with excitement and the promise of a future together. Our relationship progressed naturally, with each step feeling like a confirmation that we were meant to be together. During this time, Linda was actively searching for a new job, and I supported her through various interviews and career decisions. Her determination and resilience during this period only deepened my feelings for her. Eventually, our relationship reached a point where it felt right to take the next step. I proposed, and to my immense joy, Linda said yes. Our engagement was a period of planning and dreaming about our future, but it wasn't without its challenges. One significant hurdle was the prenuptial agreement. Advised by someone at the bank, Linda insisted on it, believing it was a necessary precaution. The request took me by surprise and stirred a mix of emotions. I understood her perspective but couldn't help feeling that it introduced an element of mistrust into our relationship. Despite my initial reservations, we discussed it openly and honestly, ultimately agreeing to proceed with it. This resolution was a testament to our ability to navigate difficult conversations and find common ground. After our marriage, we settled into a life that, on the surface, seemed ideal. However, like any relationship, we faced our share of struggles. Intimacy issues began to surface, and despite our efforts to address them, they persisted. Complicating matters further were the suspicious phone calls I started noticing. They were subtle at first, just enough to plant a seed of doubt in my mind. As time went on, these doubts grew, casting a shadow over our once bright relationship. It was a difficult period, marked by confusion and a growing sense of unease. Looking back, those early warning signs were harbingers of the storm that was about to break. My background as an electronics specialist had taught me to rely on logic and evidence, so I began to look for answers, hoping to find a rational explanation for the growing distance between us. What I discovered was far more painful than anything I had anticipated. The evidence of Linda's infidelity came in the form of phone calls and messages that left no room for doubt. The confrontation that followed was heartbreaking, and our separation seemed inevitable. Legal actions ensued, and what had once been a loving partnership dissolved into a series of cold, procedural steps. The unraveling of Linda's affair revealed deeper issues, leading to investigations and legal consequences that further complicated our lives. As we navigated the aftermath, I was forced to close joint accounts, make divorce arrangements, and deal with the involvement of authorities investigating the embezzlement of Linda's trust fund. The entire experience was a harsh lesson in trust, fidelity, and the complexities of relationships. My journey from meeting Linda to the eventual breakdown of our marriage is a cautionary tale, a reminder of how even the most promising beginnings can lead to unforeseen and painful endings. I first met Linda at a recruitment seminar, one of those corporate events designed to connect employers with potential candidates, but it turned out to be much more significant for me. The room was buzzing with conversation, filled with people exchanging business cards and discussing career opportunities. Amidst this sea of professional networking, Linda stood out. She had a confident demeanor and an engaging smile that instantly caught my attention. Our initial interaction was casual. We happened to be seated next to each other during one of the presentations. As we exchanged polite greetings, I couldn't help but be drawn to her poise and the genuine interest she showed in the topics being discussed. We started chatting during a break and the conversation flowed effortlessly. Linda spoke about her background, how she had graduated with honors in business administration and was now exploring opportunities to advance her career. She was articulate, ambitious, and had a clear vision of where she wanted to go. I shared my own story, detailing my journey as an electronics specialist and the challenges and triumphs I had faced in establishing my business. There was an immediate connection, a mutual respect for each other's achievements and aspirations. We exchanged contact information with a promise to keep in touch, and I left the seminar feeling unusually optimistic about where this connection might lead. Over the next few weeks, Linda and I stayed in regular contact, mostly through emails and occasional phone calls. Each interaction revealed more about her character. She was intelligent, driven, and had a great sense of humor. We decided to meet up for coffee, and that casual coffee date turned into a series of dinners and outings. We explored our shared interests, from visiting tech expos to attending business workshops together. It became clear that our initial professional connection was blossoming into something much deeper. Linda had grown up in a small town, the youngest of 3 siblings, and had always been the one to push boundaries and strive for excellence. Her father was a banker, and her mother a schoolteacher, which perhaps explained her disciplined yet nurturing nature. She had worked hard to earn her degree and was determined to make a name for herself in the corporate world. As she shared stories about her family and upbringing, I found myself increasingly impressed by her resilience and determination. Our early interactions were marked by a sense of discovery and excitement. We both valued hard work and ambition, but we also enjoyed the lighter moments, sharing laughs over silly jokes, cooking dinner together, or simply talking about our dreams and fears late into the night. Linda's presence brought a refreshing balance to my life, which had been predominantly focused on work and achieving my professional goals. As our relationship deepened, we started talking about our future together. We discussed our career goals, personal aspirations, and even touched upon our thoughts on marriage and family. It was during these conversations that I truly began to appreciate Linda's depth and sincerity. She was not just a partner, but a confidant, someone I could share my innermost thoughts with and trust completely. Looking back at those early days, I realize how pivotal that recruitment seminar was in bringing us together. It was a meeting that seemed almost serendipitous, setting the stage for a relationship that would profoundly impact both our lives. Those initial interactions, filled with genuine curiosity and mutual respect, laid a strong foundation for what I believed would be a lasting partnership. Linda's background, her ambitions, and our shared experiences during those formative months created a bond that I thought was unbreakable. Little did I know then how complex and challenging our journey together would become. But in those early days, everything seemed possible, and our future together looked incredibly bright. As we continued to spend time together, I found myself increasingly drawn to Linda's unique blend of intelligence, ambition, and warmth. She had a knack for making even the most mundane topics seem interesting, and her passion for her career was infectious. We attended various events and seminars together, each time deepening our connection and understanding of one another. I remember one particular evening when we stayed up late discussing our biggest fears and dreams. It was in these moments of vulnerability that I truly began to fall in love with her. Our relationship continued to evolve, and I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Linda. One evening, as we walked along the waterfront, I proposed. To my immense joy, she said yes. Our engagement was a time of excitement and anticipation, filled with plans for our future. However, it wasn't without its challenges. One significant hurdle was the prenuptial agreement. Advised by someone at the bank, Linda insisted on it, believing it was a necessary precaution. The request took me by surprise and stirred a mix of emotions. I understood her perspective but couldn't help feeling that it introduced an element of mistrust into our relationship. Despite my initial reservations, we discussed it openly and honestly, ultimately agreeing to proceed with it. This resolution was a testament to our ability to navigate difficult conversations and find common ground. After our marriage, we settled into a life that on the surface seemed ideal. However, like any relationship, we faced our share of struggles. Intimacy issues began to surface, and despite our efforts to address them, they persisted. Complicating matters further were the suspicious phone calls I started noticing. They were subtle at first, just enough to plant a seed of doubt in my mind. As time went on, these doubts grew, casting a shadow over our once bright relationship. It was a difficult period, marked by confusion and a growing sense of unease. Looking back, those early warning signs were harbingers of the storm that was about to break. My background as an electronic specialist had taught me to rely on logic and evidence, so I began to look for answers, hoping to find a rational explanation for the growing distance between us. What I discovered was far more painful than anything I had anticipated. The evidence of Linda's infidelity came in the form of phone calls and messages that left no room for doubt. The confrontation that followed was heartbreaking, and our separation seemed inevitable. Legal actions ensued, and what had once been a loving partnership dissolved into a series of cold procedural steps. The unraveling of Linda's affair revealed deeper issues, leading to investigations and legal consequences that further complicated our lives. As we navigated the aftermath, I was forced to close joint accounts, make divorce arrangements, and deal with the involvement of authorities investigating the embezzlement of Linda's trust fund. The entire experience was a harsh lesson in trust, fidelity, and the complexities of relationships. My journey from meeting Linda to the eventual breakdown of our marriage is a cautionary tale, a reminder of how even the most promising beginnings can lead to unforeseen and painful endings. As our relationship blossomed, Linda and I were both navigating pivotal moments in our professional lives. My business was thriving, but I was always on the lookout for new opportunities to expand and innovate. Meanwhile, Linda was in the midst of an intensive job search. She had left her previous position, seeking a role that would better align with her career aspirations and personal values. I admired her dedication and resilience during this period. She attended numerous job interviews at various companies, each time preparing meticulously and giving her best effort. Her determination was inspiring, and I did everything I could to support her, from helping her rehearse for interviews to offering advice on potential employers. Our evenings often revolved around discussions about her interviews and the challenges she faced. Linda was passionate about finding a job where she could make a meaningful impact, and she wasn't willing to settle for anything less. Her commitment to her career was one of the many qualities that had initially drawn me to her. As we navigated our respective professional paths, our bond grew stronger. We learned to balance our busy schedules, making time for each other despite the demands of work and job searches. Our relationship was marked by mutual respect and admiration, as we both understood the importance of ambition and hard work. Amidst the hustle and bustle of our professional lives, our personal relationship continued to deepen. We spent our weekends exploring the city, going on hikes, and enjoying quiet dinners at home. These moments provided a much-needed respite from the pressures of our careers and allowed us to focus on each other. Our shared experiences and the support we offered one another solidified our partnership. It wasn't long before I realized that Linda was the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. One evening, as we sat on a park bench overlooking the city skyline, I proposed. The look of surprise and joy on her face is something I will never forget. She said yes, and we were officially engaged. Our engagement period was filled with excitement and anticipation, but it also brought its own set of challenges. Planning a wedding while juggling our careers was no small feat. There were times when the stress of it all seemed overwhelming, but we faced it together, relying on our strong communication and unwavering support for one another. One significant challenge we encountered during our engagement was the discussion of a prenuptial agreement. Linda had been advised by someone at the bank to consider it, and she brought the idea to me. Initially, I was taken aback. The notion of a prenuptial agreement felt like an intrusion into our love and trust. However, Linda explained her perspective. She viewed it as a precaution, a way to protect both of us in case things didn't go as planned. After several heartfelt conversations, I began to see her point of view. We worked through the details together, ultimately deciding to move forward with it. This experience, though difficult, reinforced our ability to navigate complex issues as a team. With the prenuptial agreement resolved, we focused on building our life together. We got married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by family and friends, a day that marked the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. However, married life brought its own set of struggles. Despite our love for each other, we faced challenges that tested our relationship. Intimacy issues began to surface, creating a sense of distance between us. We tried various ways to address these issues, from counseling to spending more quality time together, but the problems persisted. Compounding these struggles were the suspicious phone calls that Linda started receiving. They were infrequent at first, but over time, they became more frequent and harder to ignore. My initial curiosity turned into concern, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Despite these challenges, we continued to support each other in our professional endeavors. Linda eventually secured a job that she was passionate about, and I was genuinely happy for her. However, the doubts about our relationship continued to linger in the background. It was a difficult period, as I struggled to reconcile my love for Linda with the growing sense of unease about our marriage. As time went on, the tension between us grew, and it became increasingly clear that we needed to address the underlying issues head-on. Looking back, those years were a mix of highs and lows, marked by professional successes and personal struggles. Our engagement and the initial phase of our marriage taught me a lot about the complexities of relationships and the importance of communication and trust. Despite the challenges we faced, I remained hopeful that we could work through our problems and emerge stronger as a couple. Little did I know that the revelations and events that would soon unfold would forever change the course of our lives. Our engagement was a whirlwind of joy and anticipation, filled with the excitement of planning our future together. We were both thrilled at the prospect of starting our lives as a married couple. However, amidst the wedding preparations and dreams of a shared life, a significant issue emerged, one that would test our relationship in ways I hadn't anticipated. Linda brought up the idea of a prenuptial agreement. She had been advised by someone at the bank, a mentor she trusted, to consider it as a precautionary measure. When she first mentioned it, I was caught off guard. The notion of a prenuptial agreement felt like a cold, businesslike approach to something as intimate and sacred as marriage. It introduced an element of mistrust that I found unsettling. Linda, however, was resolute. She explained that the prenuptial agreement was not a reflection of her doubts about our relationship, but rather a practical step to protect both of us. She highlighted her trust in the bank mentor's advice and emphasized that it was a common practice among couples, especially those with significant assets or business interests. Despite her rational explanation, I couldn't help but feel hurt and somewhat betrayed. The very suggestion seemed to undermine the unconditional commitment I believed marriage represented. Our discussions around the prenuptial agreement were tense and emotionally charged. I tried to convey my feelings, explaining that I saw our union as a partnership based on mutual trust and shared dreams. I argued that bringing legal documents into the mix felt like we were preparing for failure before we even began. Linda listened patiently but remained firm in her stance. She reassured me that her request was not about predicting doom, but about being prepared for any eventuality. She pointed out that in the event of unforeseen circumstances, having a clear agreement in place could prevent misunderstandings and legal battles. Her pragmatic approach clashed with my romantic ideals, creating a rift between us. We spent several evenings debating the issue, each conversation leaving us more frustrated and emotionally drained. I grappled with my feelings of resentment and disappointment, while Linda struggled to make me understand her perspective. The conflict seemed to cast a shadow over our engagement, threatening to overshadow the happiness we had found in each other. Eventually, after many heartfelt discussions, we reached a resolution. I realized that while the prenuptial agreement made me uncomfortable, it was crucial for Linda's peace of mind. I loved her deeply and wanted to support her, even if it meant stepping out of my comfort zone. We decided to draft the agreement together, ensuring that it was fair and balanced. This process, though challenging, became a testament to our ability to navigate difficult conversations and find common ground. We consulted with legal professionals and took the time to understand each clause, ensuring that both our interests were protected. The agreement was not just a legal document. It became a symbol of our commitment to transparency and mutual respect. Despite the resolution, the experience left a lasting impact on our relationship. It taught us the importance of communication and the need to address issues head-on, no matter how uncomfortable they might be. The prenuptial agreement conflict forced us to confront our differences and find a way to move forward together. It also highlighted the delicate balance between love and practicality in a marriage. While our love for each other remained strong, we had to acknowledge that real-life concerns sometimes required pragmatic solutions. This realization helped us grow as a couple, preparing us for the many challenges we would face in the future. As we moved past the prenuptial agreement issue, we focused on our wedding and the life we envisioned together. We poured our energy into creating a celebration that reflected our love and shared values. Our wedding day was a beautiful, joyous occasion, surrounded by family and friends who supported and celebrated our union. However, the prenuptial agreement conflict had left an indelible mark on our relationship. It served as a reminder that even the strongest partnerships require continuous effort and understanding. The lessons we learned from that experience would prove invaluable as we navigated the complexities of married life. In the end, the prenuptial agreement did not weaken our bond. Rather, it strengthened our resolve to face challenges together. It was a difficult but necessary step in our journey, one that taught us the importance of balancing love with practicality. As we embarked on our married life, we carried with us the lessons of compromise, communication, and the unwavering commitment to supporting each other through thick and thin. Our wedding day was a beautiful celebration, marking the beginning of what I hoped would be a lifelong journey of love and partnership with Linda. Surrounded by family and friends, we exchanged vows and envisioned a future filled with happiness and shared dreams. However, as the initial excitement of our wedding faded and we settled into married life, we began to face challenges that tested our relationship in unexpected ways. Our early days of marriage were a mix of joy and adjustment. We navigated the typical newlywed experiences, merging our lives, establishing routines, and learning to live together as a married couple. At first, everything seemed to be going well. We were both committed to our careers and supported each other's ambitions. I was deeply invested in growing my business, while Linda had secured a promising position at a reputable company. Despite our busy schedules, we made it a point to spend quality time together, enjoying weekends exploring the city, cooking meals, and planning our future. However, as time went on, subtle issues began to emerge. We started experiencing intimacy problems that created a sense of distance between us. Despite our best efforts to address these issues, through open communication, seeking advice, and even considering professional counseling, the problems persisted. Our once vibrant connection seemed to wane, replaced by a growing sense of frustration and misunderstanding. This was a difficult period for both of us, as the emotional and physical distance between us became more pronounced. Our attempts to reignite the spark often ended in disappointment, leaving us both feeling isolated and disconnected. Compounding these struggles were the suspicious phone calls that Linda started receiving. At first, they were infrequent and easily dismissed. However, as the calls became more regular, my curiosity turned into concern. I noticed that Linda would sometimes step out of the room to take these calls, speaking in hushed tones and offering vague explanations when I asked about them. The secrecy surrounding these calls planted seeds of doubt in my mind. I tried to ignore my suspicions, convincing myself that there must be a reasonable explanation. However, the nagging feeling that something was amiss persisted, creating an undercurrent of tension in our relationship. One evening, while Linda was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Glancing at the screen, I saw a message from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I opened the message. What I found confirmed my worst fears. It was a series of affectionate texts from someone I had never heard of. My heart sank, and a wave of betrayal washed over me. Confronting Linda about the messages was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I hoped for a plausible explanation, something that would dispel my fears and restore my trust in her. However, Linda's reaction was defensive and evasive. She insisted that the messages were harmless, just a friend from work who had gotten too familiar. But the evidence was clear, and her explanations didn't add up. As our confrontations continued, the truth slowly unraveled. Linda admitted to having an emotional affair with a colleague. She assured me that it hadn't gone beyond texts and calls, but the betrayal cut deep nonetheless. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and profound disappointment. The foundation of trust that we had built seemed to crumble beneath us. The discovery of Linda's infidelity marked a turning point in our marriage. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming, and I struggled to process the betrayal. Our once harmonious home became a battleground of arguments, accusations, and tears. We tried to seek professional help, but the damage seemed irreparable. The intimacy issues we had faced earlier now seemed insurmountable, overshadowed by the pain of betrayal. Our separation seemed inevitable. We began the painful process of untangling our lives, preparing for a legal separation. The practicalities of dividing assets, closing joint accounts, and making divorce arrangements added to the emotional burden we were already carrying. Each step felt like a reminder of the love we had lost and the dreams that would never be realized. As we navigated the legal procedures, new revelations emerged. It turned out that Linda's infidelity was more than just an emotional affair. Further investigation revealed that there had been financial misconduct as well. Linda had been embezzling funds from her trust to support her relationship with her colleague. The authorities became involved, and the situation escalated into a legal nightmare. The impact on our relationship was devastating. What had started as a promising partnership, built on mutual respect and shared dreams, had devolved into a series of legal battles and emotional scars. The person I had once trusted with my heart had betrayed me in ways I couldn't have imagined. Looking back, I realized that the signs had been there all along. The intimacy issues, the suspicious phone calls, the gradual erosion of trust. I had been too caught up in my own world to see the cracks forming in our relationship. The experience left me with a deeper understanding of the complexities of relationships. Trust and communication are the bedrock of any partnership, and when they are compromised, the consequences can be devastating. Our marriage, once filled with promise and potential, had become a cautionary tale about the fragility of trust and the importance of addressing issues head-on before they fester into something irreparable. The journey from marriage to separation was a painful one, filled with lessons about love, betrayal, and the resilience needed to rebuild one's life after such a profound loss. The discovery of Linda's infidelity began with a series of suspicious phone calls that I couldn't ignore. The frequency and secrecy of these calls gnawed at my gut, stirring a sense of unease that I couldn't shake. Linda would often step out of the room to answer her phone, her conversations hushed and vague when I inquired. Initially, I tried to quell my suspicions, rationalizing that she had a right to her privacy. But the nagging doubts persisted, casting a shadow over our marriage. One evening, the tipping point came when Linda left her phone unattended. A message from an unfamiliar number flashed on the screen, filled with affectionate language that left no room for misinterpretation. My heart pounded as I read the words, a mix of disbelief and betrayal washing over me. Confronting Linda was inevitable. I showed her the messages, hoping for an explanation that would somehow make sense, something that would dispel the growing dread in my heart. But Linda's reaction was defensive, her explanations unconvincing. She claimed it was just a friend from work who had gotten too familiar, but her evasive answers only fueled my suspicions. The confrontations that followed were emotionally charged and exhausting. Each argument peeled back more layers of deceit, and Linda's defenses crumbled under the weight of the evidence. Eventually, she confessed to having an emotional affair with a colleague. The betrayal cut deep, leaving me feeling raw and exposed. Linda assured me that it had never gone beyond texts and phone calls, but the damage was done. The trust that had once been the cornerstone of our relationship was shattered. As I grappled with the emotional fallout, I began to notice inconsistencies in our finances. Small discrepancies that I had overlooked before now seemed to stand out. I decided to dig deeper, reviewing our accounts and financial records with a meticulous eye. What I discovered was far worse than I had imagined. Linda had been embezzling funds from her trust to support her relationship with her colleague. The realization was like a punch to the gut, compounding the betrayal I already felt. It wasn't just my heart that had been broken. My financial security was at risk as well. The legal implications of Linda's actions were serious. I consulted with a lawyer to understand the full scope of the situation. The legal proceedings that followed were complex and draining, involving not only the dissolution of our marriage, but also investigations into Linda's financial misconduct. The authorities were brought in, and what had started as a personal betrayal escalated into a legal nightmare. The process of separation was painful and drawn out. We had to untangle our lives, dividing assets and closing joint accounts. The house we had made into a home became a battleground for our lawyers, each room a reminder of what we had lost. The financial investigations added another layer of complexity as we worked to uncover the full extent of Linda's embezzlement. Each new revelation felt like a fresh wound, deepening the chasm between us. Linda's colleague, the man she had been involved with, was also implicated in the financial misconduct. The scandal had far-reaching consequences, affecting not only our personal lives, but also the professional reputations and livelihoods of those involved. It was a sobering reminder of how interconnected our lives had become, and how a single betrayal could unravel so much. Through it all, I struggled to maintain a sense of normalcy. I threw myself into my work, trying to keep my business afloat amidst the chaos. The support of friends and family became a lifeline, helping me navigate the emotional and legal quagmire I found myself in. Yet despite their support, I often felt isolated, grappling with a deep sense of loss and betrayal that only seemed to intensify with each passing day. The legal proceedings dragged on, each step a reminder of the trust that had been shattered. Linda and I faced each other in court, our interactions cold and distant. The woman I had once loved and trusted implicitly was now a stranger to me, her actions unfathomable. As the truth of her infidelity and financial misconduct came to light, I found myself questioning everything about our relationship. Had there been signs I had missed? Was there something I could have done to prevent this? The self-doubt and guilt were overwhelming at times, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. The finalization of our divorce brought a mix of relief and sadness. It marked the end of a chapter that had started with so much promise and ended in betrayal and heartbreak. The legal investigations into the embezzlement concluded with Linda facing serious consequences, both legally and professionally. Her actions had not only destroyed our marriage, but also tainted her career and reputation. In the aftermath, I focused on rebuilding my life. The process was slow and painful, filled with moments of doubt and introspection. I sought therapy to help navigate the emotional scars left by Linda's betrayal, gradually learning to trust again and finding solace in the support of loved ones. The experience left me with a deeper understanding of the complexities of relationships and the fragile nature of trust. I learned that even the strongest partnerships can be vulnerable to deception, and that transparency and communication are essential to maintaining a healthy relationship. Despite the pain, I emerged stronger and more resilient, determined to move forward and build a life grounded in honesty and integrity. Linda's betrayal and the subsequent legal battles served as a harsh lesson about the importance of vigilance and the need to address issues head-on. It taught me that ignoring small signs of trouble can lead to much larger problems down the line. As I moved forward, I carried with me the lessons of this difficult period, using them to guide my future relationships and decisions. The journey from discovery to resolution was fraught with pain and turmoil, but it ultimately led to personal growth and a renewed sense of purpose. The revelation of Linda's infidelity and the subsequent discovery of her financial misconduct marked the beginning of a grueling legal and financial ordeal. The shock and betrayal I felt quickly turned into a sense of urgency as I realized the full extent of the situation. The affair had not only shattered our marriage, but also put our financial stability at risk. The initial step was to consult with a lawyer who could guide me through the complex legal landscape that lay ahead. We began by gathering all the necessary documentation, bank statements, financial records, and any evidence of the embezzlement. Each piece of evidence painted a clearer picture of the deceit and manipulation that had been occurring right under my nose. The first major task was the closure of our joint accounts. It was a symbolic and practical step, severing the financial ties that bound us together. Each account closure felt like another nail in the coffin of our relationship, a stark reminder of the trust that had been broken. We had to ensure that all our shared financial responsibilities were accounted for, and that no further damage could be done. As we moved forward with the divorce arrangements, the process became increasingly contentious. Dividing our assets fairly was a complex task, made more difficult by the financial discrepancies caused by Linda's embezzlement. Every negotiation, every discussion, was fraught with tension and emotional strain. The house, our savings, and even personal possessions became points of contention, each item representing another aspect of our life together that had to be dismantled and redistributed. In addition to the divorce proceedings, the authorities were now involved, investigating the embezzlement of Linda's trust fund. This added another layer of complexity to an already overwhelming situation. The legal investigations were thorough and invasive, requiring cooperation and transparency from both of us. Linda faced serious legal consequences, as her actions had not only affected our personal finances, but also constituted a criminal offense. The involvement of the authorities brought a sense of justice to the situation, but it also prolonged the legal battle and intensified the scrutiny on our lives. Linda's colleague, who had been complicit in the affair and the financial misconduct, was also investigated. Their relationship had not only been a personal betrayal, but it also led to professional and legal ramifications that neither of them had anticipated. The legal procedures were exhaustive, involving multiple court appearances, depositions, and the constant exchange of documents and information. My lawyer was a constant presence, guiding me through each step and helping me navigate the complexities of the legal system. Despite the support, the process was emotionally draining. Each new revelation, each legal hurdle, felt like a fresh wound, reopening the pain and betrayal that had initially surfaced with the discovery of the affair. The financial consequences were significant. Linda's embezzlement had left a substantial gap in our finances, one that we had to account for during the divorce proceedings. The court had to determine the extent of the financial damage and make decisions about restitution and the division of remaining assets. It was a painstaking process, one that required meticulous attention to detail and a deep understanding of financial and legal principles. Throughout this period, I had to maintain a semblance of normalcy in my professional life. Running my business amidst the chaos of legal battles and emotional turmoil was a monumental challenge. My employees and colleagues were supportive, but the stress took a toll on my productivity and overall well-being. Balancing the demands of my career with the pressures of the legal proceedings was a constant struggle, one that required immense resilience and determination. The finalization of our divorce brought a sense of closure, but it was bittersweet. The legal procedures had ensured that justice was served and that the financial discrepancies were addressed, but the emotional scars remained. Linda faced legal consequences for her actions, including potential criminal charges and professional repercussions. The once promising future we had envisioned together was now a distant memory, replaced by a reality marked by legal battles and broken trust. The aftermath of the legal and financial ordeal was a period of reflection and rebuilding. I had to come to terms with the loss of my marriage and the financial instability that Linda's actions had caused. Therapy and the support of loved ones were crucial in helping me navigate this difficult time. I focused on rebuilding my life, both personally and professionally, determined to move forward with a renewed sense of purpose and integrity. The experience left me with valuable lessons about trust, vigilance, and the importance of addressing issues head-on. It was a harsh reminder of how quickly a seemingly stable life can be upended by deceit and betrayal. Despite the pain and challenges, I emerged stronger, with a clearer understanding of my values and priorities. As I moved forward, I carried with me the lessons learned from this painful chapter. The legal and financial consequences of Linda's actions had left a lasting impact, but they also reinforced the importance of transparency, honesty, and resilience. The experience had tested me in ways I had never imagined, but it also shaped me into a more cautious and discerning individual. The journey from discovery to resolution was arduous and fraught with challenges, but it ultimately led to personal growth and a renewed commitment to living a life grounded in truth and integrity. The conclusion of this turbulent chapter in my life was marked by a profound sense of finality and dramatic closure. After the legal battles, the emotional strain, and the financial fallout, the court's final decree was both a relief and a reminder of the devastation left in the wake of Linda's actions. As the gavel came down, signaling the end of the legal proceedings, I felt a surge of mixed emotions. Relief that it was over, yet sorrow for the irreparable damage that had been done. The house that once symbolized our shared dreams now stood empty, a silent witness to the collapse of our marriage. I packed away the remnants of our life together, each box a painful reminder of what we had lost. Every corner of that house seemed to echo with memories of happier times, now overshadowed by betrayal and deceit. The once warm and inviting space felt cold and hollow, a stark contrast to the life we had once envisioned. In the midst of the chaos, the emotional toll of the divorce and the legal battles was overwhelming. The sense of betrayal lingered, coloring my interactions with others and casting a shadow over my future. Despite the legal and financial resolutions, the personal scars were deep and enduring. I found myself grappling with feelings of anger, sadness, and a profound sense of loss. The journey to rebuild my life was fraught with challenges, but I was determined to emerge stronger from the ordeal. The finality of the divorce was a harsh reminder of the fragility of trust and the complexities of relationships. The emotional and financial repercussions of Linda's actions left an indelible mark on my life, altering my perspective on love and partnership. The closure of our joint accounts, the division of assets, and the legal consequences of her embezzlement were just the surface of a deeper, more painful reality. In the end, the dramatic conclusion of this chapter was a catalyst for personal growth and reflection. I was left to navigate the aftermath of the betrayal, finding solace in the support of friends and family, and seeking therapy to address the emotional scars. The experience was a harsh lesson in trust, fidelity, and the importance of confronting issues before they escalate beyond repair. As I faced the future, I carried with me the lessons learned from this tumultuous period, determined to rebuild my life with renewed purpose and resilience. The dramatic end of this chapter was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity to find hope and strength even in the darkest of times.